Hey guys, hope you're doing alright. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the minimum wage because it's going to be going up soon, and I'm mainly going to be looking at the national living wage, which is going to have a huge impact this year because it's going to be reduced from the age of 25 to 23 on the 1st of April. So we're going to be going up from £8.72 per hour to £8.91 per hour, which is an increase of 19 pence, which is quite considerable really, because that's £1.52 per day, and over the cost of a year that's £387.60 per year that you're going to have to pay an extra employee. So this is a considerable amount, especially when you consider that a lot of businesses have quite a few employees. So if they're working on an average of 255 days in a year, you're going to be getting quite a lot of money going out per year paying this extra amount. So that 19p an hour is going to make a huge difference. And also because it's slightly chipping down in the age range as well, that's going to be slightly unexpected for a lot of employers, and that could lead to a huge amount of legal problems, because if you do not pay the minimum wage to your employers, you can pay a fine of up to, I think it's £20,000, which is quite crazy really. So you know that, and that's per worker. That's per worker. So if you're paying £20,000 per worker, that's going to probably destroy you if you're a small business owner, and you're also banned from being a business director for 15 years. So it can really kick people really hard in the teeth. Anyway, the national living wage is pretty much just a renaming of the national minimum wage, which was introduced, I believe, by George Osborne, and basically I believe that they changed the name because there's the Living Wage Foundation, which actually comes up with a decent living wage for what people would need to reasonably survive, and the national living wage is just a renaming of the minimum wage. And I think the reason they went with that is mainly because it sounds a lot friendlier, because national living wage, it's national, it's living, it sounds like it's a surviving wage, whereas the minimum is just like, oh, it's the minimum I can get, it's depressing, it makes you feel bad. So I think that's kind of the reason they changed the naming of it. Anyway, so how am I going to be dealing with, and how are small business owners going to be dealing with the minimum wage? So in terms of like goods and services are going to start to increase in prices. Now, if you take any corner shop and all of the items in the corner shop, you're going to have to increase the prices in order to afford the money coming in to pay for your staff. So when you've got staff members there working in the shop, they are going to be draining your finances, whereas you're going to have to increase the prices of your products. And you're going to have to increase them by a considerable amount more than the staff, because you cannot guarantee that those products are going to go off. And this is one of the reasons small businesses are really struggling when they're fighting against businesses like Tesco and fighting against, you know, all of the big chains, because you've got like Sainsbury's, you've got Aldi, you've got Lidl, you've got all of these different stores which make it very hard for small businesses to survive, because a lot of them are also VAT registered. They can get special bonuses, and they can basically find ways of burying money that small businesses can't always do. So that can be really complicated for small businesses. So anyway, so what they do is they will increase the prices of items within shops, they'll increase the prices of food within restaurants, and basically they're going to be looking to try and get a higher profit margin per item, and for any services that they provide, they're going to be trying to get a higher level of profit for those services. So what's going to happen to these things then? Once you've got the profit that's added on, they've also got to take into account to add VAT on as well. So for example, VAT being 20% would be, say for example, you've got to increase, say, a bottle of Coke, let's say it's £2 just for the hell of it, so you're increasing that by say 20%, and then you're going to get 20% on top of that to pay the VAT. So you're going to pay 20% of the extra which you're adding on top, and then you've got sugar tax as well, which is getting added on top like that, so that the prices are going up exponentially in order to actually afford the new minimum wage, which is actually detrimental to the staff. I've done another video on the minimum wage. It's in the comment section if you want to check it out, and it's one of the reasons. It's full of reasons that the minimum wage is really bad. So as a business owner, I'm going to be under a lot of pressure in order to pay for the new employees, and I can't guarantee that things are going to sell immediately. I'm going to be losing my customers to competitors which can offer better prices. Let's say they've got better connections. Let's say that they have that they've just got a better setup than I have. So small businesses are really going to get hit hard by this, and they get hit every single year. It's absolutely disgraceful. So anyway, so how are we going to deal with this? Well, we're going to basically reduce the number of staff which we've got in the business. That's a really, really good way of doing it. So let's say you've got 3 people working on a shop floor. That's going to be reduced to 2 people. So the workload is going to increase. Another thing that can be done is you can remove benefits which the staff are getting. So, for example, if they are getting any form of benefits in terms of, like, for example, you give them free candy or whatever, if they are there, or you provide staff meals, you're going to say you got to bring your own meals from now on because we can't afford to do this now. So it's like any health benefits that people have got, like medical healthcare professionals, they're going to get reduced as well. We've seen this in the care profession going down. I work in the care profession as well. I'm a carer, so you start losing those benefits, and all of like the fitness programs and everything, gym memberships, anything like that starts getting stripped away and rescinded. So basically, the prices of services are being forced to increase. We're having to basically make our employees work harder. We're having to potentially get rid of employees, which can be really, really tough. So this is where the business really starts to struggle, because they're having to handle a huge outflux of cash which they weren't necessarily having to deal with before. And when it comes to small businesses, there is not a guaranteed amount of income that they're going to be getting. So some days they're going to earn a lot more than others. There's not necessarily a regular stream of traffic that's coming into them. If we're looking at places like restaurants, for example, I do a lot of work with restaurants. You're going to see people cutting down on the quality of food which they're taking in. They're going to start taking shortcuts. Now this is really, really problematic, especially in the restaurant and takeaway business, because if you have people who are, let's say you're going out and you're getting chicken fillet and you're using chicken fillet, well, you're not going to be necessarily buy the chicken fillet this time, because you're going to buy a cheaper cut of chicken so that you can put it out. I mean, it's going to have the same herbs on, it's going to taste okay, but it's not going to be fillet, and you're going to have to downgrade and downgrade and downgrade in different areas. Instead of getting decent quality stuff, the quality is deteriorating. You're getting special cheaper versions of like ketchup, things like that. So for example, you would be getting the Aldi brand of ketchup instead of Heinz tomato ketchup, just so that you can support the new staff wages. So it's becoming very, very complicated as a business owner to try and juggle all this stuff. So there are some businesses I've noticed that have been, in McDonald's, which is actually a really big chain of restaurants, you've got people who have been removed from the store, and what they've done is they've replaced them with machines. When you notice in the local co-op, when you see that people, you've got one less place to do checkouts, and the checkout's been replaced by an automated checkout. This is another job which is actually being applied to the customer. So instead of having someone check your stuff out for you and provide that service for you, you have to do it yourself. It's manual, it's horrible, and you don't like doing it. But this is one of the problems that's coming across with the minimum wage, because people are being got rid of and replaced by machines in certain jobs, which is really, really problematic, and it's quite dangerous. So these are some of the things that you're going to be looking for. In terms of small businesses are going to probably be able to survive this one quite well. But the problem is at the moment, with the way that inflation and the minimum wage has gone, every single time in the United Kingdom, whenever the minimum wage goes up, inflation increases massively above the benefit which is gained from the minimum wage. And one of the reasons people increase the minimum wage is basically so that they can, what they do is they do it so that they can push people above the tax limit. So there are some people who hover below the tax limit that can then be taxed, and then above the tax limit they're paying a higher percentage of their actual earnings in tax. So this is kind of what they're trying to do in order to skim extra money off of people who are actually working, and that money goes back into the government, which uses it to spend on nice champagne dinners for the people who basically go and fall asleep in the Houses of Parliament, which is wonderful to watch for every small business owner. So anyway, yes, there's a lot of problems when it comes to the minimum wage, especially with small business, because if you're only earning a certain amount of money, so let's say if you've got like £1,000 coming in per month, and that's profit, and you've got 2 staff members, bam, over the months you're going to be paying a huge amount a chunk of that out on your staff to try to just keep within the legal guidelines of the law. So what's happened is your profits have actually gone down, and you've got to find a way to bring those profits up. So everybody who's going out is going to notice that they're going to be paying more for transport, they're going to be paying more for other things, and they're going to think, oh no, we need more money. And that's not the way to deal with it. The best way to deal with it is to try and reduce the minimum wage, to try and reduce things like corporation tax, taxes on the rich, and try and allow the economy to actually recover itself without strangling everything, and try and just cut down on government interference. That's probably the best way to handle it. It's something which has been talked about by Thomas Sowell, by Milton Friedman. They're very, very influential economists and highly worth listening to. Anyway, I'm turning this into a big old ramble. So basically, when it comes to business, things are going to be very, very hard for the smaller companies. It is going to be much harder for us to survive, and it is going to be much harder for us to cope. And prices are going to rise, services are going to increase, and they're going to decrease in service as well. So, for example, some of the